Hey y'all, this is Dr. Maiysha, Stress-Free Mom MD, and the founder of the Next Level Physician Entrepreneurs Institute. And I am coming at you today with a very special physician entrepreneur, doctor, friend, and we are going to talk a little bit about the principle. So you guys know, yesterday I posted in the groups about the principle, Moja, and unity. And in celebration of Kwanzaa, I'm talking about today's principle, Kujichagulia, which means to define ourselves for ourselves. And that really, for me, is the semblance of what we're doing as physician entrepreneurs, taking our industry back. And so I have with me a very special guest, Dr. Mike Woo-Ming, MD, MPH. So Dr. Mike is a physician entrepreneur, an in-demand speaker, an author, and medical marketing strategist specializing in lead generation, and has overseen the funnel building of several multi-million-dollar online health companies. This man is a beast. He holds a master's degree in public health at the University of Michigan and a doctor of medicine from Wayne State University. He's the author of the industry guide, Marketing for Doctors, and he has lectured on workshops on both business to business and business to consumer internet marketing to small businesses and entrepreneurs throughout the US, Australia, Asia, and Europe. Currently, he helps physicians start their own cash-based practice as a practice management consultant and the creator of the Insurance-Free Practice. I love this. And he's a CEO of Executive Medical, which specializes in age management, weight loss, and aesthetics, and the co-owner and medical director of a number of clinics in Southern California region, specializing in weight loss, med spa services, and physical medicine. Dr. Mike, you are like my twin, my other gender twin.
Okay, sure, no problem.
I love what you're doing. Thanks for being willing to come on today and share about yourself. And we have a very special surprise for our listeners that you're going to share about later. But talk to me a little bit about your journey to physician entrepreneurship.
Well, first, Maiysha, thank you. I'm honored to be here. I've also kind of been following what you're doing. You're doing some incredible, awesome work, kind of spreading your message, and I love it. So thanks again for inviting me here. Yeah, it's funny. It's, at the time we're recording this, it's around, as you said, Kwanzaa, holiday time, often a time of reflection. And I was doing some writing on just what it is about being a physician and what kind of led me to my journey about becoming a physician entrepreneur. And there's always, some circumstances, some moments in time where you remember what happened and it leads you into a different path. For myself, one particular path that was very instrumental to me was, I believe you were a primary care physician trained as myself. So back in the day when I graduated from residency, I went straight into a group medical practice. Big primary group. There was family practitioners, internists, a couple of OB-GYNs and pediatricians. But our group they wanted to do everything that we did in residency, but maybe even worse or more. So we didn't have hospitalists. So we would do a hospital call. And I was taking call about every fourth night. Now, on my first year, yeah, exactly. In my first year at a residency, they put the new guy, they said, you're young, you need to build up your patients. So the best way to do it is let's put you on call as much as possible.
Wow, yes.
And so I was taking Christmas, Thanksgiving. I remember being on call at Y2K, if you remember that. That's when year 2000. Nobody knew what was happening, but let's put the new guy on there so he can do it.
Right, just in case.
And it was actually on Christmas morning, about this time, about several years ago, I'm sorry, about 15, 16 years ago, that I was admitting my 10th, 11th patient that night. It was about 4 or 5 in the morning, and in the emergency room. And the only other doctor there, it was, let's call him Dr. Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a solo family practitioner. We kind of shared calls with him. He had his own practice.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a really gruff individual. I only didn't really get to meet him until then, because really gruff personality. It was funny, I was on another call and I mentioned at the time he probably had the sincerity of a Marcus Welby, and then the person didn't even know who that was. But if you don't know, you can look it up on Wikipedia. Marcus Welby was a kind of a country doctor. He kind of lost his bedside manner over the years, probably because he was overworked.
Mm-hmm.
And after talking with him and getting to know him, I asked him, I said, why are you working on Christmas morning? And after some hesitation, he said, they pay me $100 more, a couple $100 more if I work the holiday call. Mm. And so he told me he did it because he has to, not because he wanted to, because he has to. Maiysha, this guy was probably in his late 60s, early 70s. He looked 20 years older. He was not in the best shape. He probably looked sicker than most of his patients he was admitting, that night. And it struck me that he had to. Later on, when I got to know him, he did make some good financial decisions. He was the sole bread earner in his family. And it kind of looked myself in the mirror this is a family practitioner. And I was looking myself in the mirror. Is this what I'm going to see 20, 30, 40 years down the line? Having to work, not because I want to, because I have to. Just kind of a follow-up on that story. He recently passed away last year. He worked, and in the obituary, he said he stopped taking call at about 85 years old, and he worked until the day he died at 86. Now, of course, the obituary is going to be very flowery. They talk about his dedication as a doctor.
Right.
But I know the real story. He worked because he had to.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't send shivers down your spine, if you're a physician and working in right now and looking for a different path, that was one of the kind of main moments in my life that kind of changed my path and allowed me to say, I need to put some things in place here. I need to put in residual streams of income. It ended up, I started a business, and we can talk about that. But that was kind of my main points in my life that really made a big impact on me.
Yeah, that's huge. And I totally get that, because when I was in residency, it was it was a similar mindset. Like I was seeing the senior residents go out and get a job and then hate their job and quit their job and then get another job that they then hated and quit. And then it was like, and then I heard the statistic. We were fortunate enough to have a practice management rotation. But one of the things that stuck with me is our attending in practice management said that the statistic was that the average physician will change jobs 3 years within the first 5 years out of residency. And I was like, what? And then I saw it happening. And that was for me that like, oh, this won't be for me. Like I have to carve a different path. And I, have shared many times my story around burnout and that moment of truth for me. But, I really get what you're saying. And so, back in the day when you were kind of charting your own path, and I can really get this because even when I stepped out to chart my own path, it was really you really stepped off the beaten path, right? Off the usual path. And really sort of created your career by design. And I often am preaching about this. So how was that for you? What motivated you? What kept you going around this whole, even though it was off the beaten path, like a salmon swimming upstream, how did you create your career by your design?
Planning, having a, I didn't know, I couldn't direct the ship, but I know which way I needed to go. I kind of knew my destination, what I wanted to do. For eventually, I ended up leaving that position. 5 years of doing it, but for me, it was just taking some steps. As okay, if I wanted to drop the amount of hours that I could do, how much? And I'm pretty, I'm pretty logical in doing this. It's just like, okay, that's about 10 hours. How much does that cost me? What can I do to build in that income? And so I looked at different avenues that I wanted to do. Getting another job was just basically replacing what I was doing and getting burnt out another way. But for me, I've always been entrepreneurial. If anybody's been following me, I talk about how I started a little business in residency of all things, basically helping people with their medical education. And I got involved in the tech industry. I had some ideas that I thought would work. And basically, I just spent, if I was working, let's say 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., which was a normal Monday through Friday, I would work on my business from 5 a.m. to 7:30 in the morning, because that's the only time I had. Mm-hmm. And really, what came and what was my driving force was things like the story mentioned, the Dr. Joneses of the world. I have a son who has special needs. Being able to make his appointments, that was another driving force, for me. So these are the things, I don't know if you use, but oftentimes I use something like a vision board where I can see where I'm going and just having that. I'm a very visual person. It wasn't about fancy cars or, having a yacht or something like that. It was about time freedom. It was about stop substituting time for money. Like I've said in the past, if all your income is based upon how many patients you see, let's think about another plan. Let's think about what else can I do to bring in extra income where I'm not the only one providing those services.
Yeah, I love that. I love that number one, the planning aspect, right? The really seeing and knowing where you're going and creating where you're going along the way and being flexible around that. I always talk about as a coach, I always talk about the process of change. And inside of the process of change, we often skip from, we often skip from contemplation to action, and we don't do enough planning. And the planning is critical, and it's not just planning the business, but planning how you'll make the transition, planning, visioning down the road. And I really heard that in what you were just saying is that planning. But the other thing that I really heard was commitment, like you're committed to something bigger than just the money. You're committed to the freedom. You're committed to your son. You're committed, you're committed to helping others. And so that commitment drives you to do things to be able to sort of put your money where your mouth is, right?
Exactly.
And so I admire that. And like I said, I feel like as I'm listening to you, it really is a mirror. I really do believe you attract people in your life who mirror you. And it's nice to actually hear what I've been saying to others. So they're like, she's just saying that. No, listen to this doctor over here.
I get that.
Now you help doctors build their own cash practices. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, long story short, I've always been entrepreneurial. I've been involved in a lot of different entrepreneurial businesses. And at the time, I sold my software company. I had a software company on the side. It did pretty well. And I was kind of looking for my next adventure. I was also working with doctors who are looking, like yourself, looking at some type of career change. Mm-hmm. And I had one student who was a physician, and she told me she had gotten a letter from her state saying, because she had been out of practice, she might have to start seeing patients again. And not just they said you will have to see patients again because she's been out of practice for so long. Mm-hmm. Or she would, if not, she would have to pay a $50,000 program, which would retrain her in medical school for a year. Okay, so I was like, I do not want this to happen to me. I checked with my state, other than working with some hypochondriac friends, I really had not been practicing medicine because I had been out for about 7 or 8 years. Mm-hmm. I worked locum tenens for about, I like to say, 30 minutes. And realized I'm unemployable. I'm not really good with having a boss. And, I've got some entrepreneurial knowledge and skills. Why can't I open my own practice? And why can't I open a cash-based practice? Because I knew all my friends who were having trouble with insurance-based medicine. And, I live here in San Diego, California. It's beautiful, but we're kind of in the heart of managed care land. Mm-hmm. Pretty much any procedure, people ask you, what does my insurance cover it? And so I had a few naysayers say it's not going to work. And, over time, I just kind of figured it out. I figured out what I wanted to do. I've I know you have a background in integrative medicine. That's something that I was interested as well. And that, luckily it kind of services people who pay services through cash. Weight loss is something that I've struggled with. So I was obviously interested in doing those kind of things. So I just kind of brought in and created a little practice that, after stubbing my toe after a few years, I kind of figured it out. And it's like that old adage, see one, do one, teach one, right? So I kind of figured out what kind of worked, and I had some knowledge that I think people would be interested in doing, and especially some of my primary care friends who wanted to start their own practice. Mm-hmm. So that's basically how it got started, and basically it was just through word of mouth. I created a company called Paradise Practice that basically helps doctors build their own practice, or at least add more cash-pay services to their existing practice. And again, although I don't see patients full-time, I see them maybe about 10 or 12 hours a week, I think I'm doing the greater good because I'm now helping other doctors who in turn are servicing thousands of patients, helping them improve their health. And as through my services, I'm helping more than I could ever possibly do on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, there's one thing I want to address because I get it a lot. And that is, both of us have these I think we both come from this sort of entrepreneurial, we have this natural entrepreneurial spirit. And then there are doctors out there who want to start their own business that feel like, but I've never done that, or I don't feel like I'm an entrepreneur, I have a business bone in my body. What would you say to them?
What I would say to them is to wake up. and then first is doctors, and I think we've talked about in the past, we devalue our knowledge of what we do. Like, for example, a doctor says, I'm not good at business, I'm not good in sales.
Right.
But every day as a doctor, you are selling something, whether it be selling them taking this prescription or selling them that they need to get an x-ray because they've been coughing, that right. This is important. You are selling them in just different ways. Sales is just another form of persuasion. You're just persuading them, but because you want to help them, you want to get them to the right path.
Right.
So they already have some type of sales background. Now, some would argue that, to go into business, you need to get an MBA. And I've got a lot of good friends who've got MD, MBAs.
Yep.
But unfortunately, I know people who've got MBAs who don't do anything with it. A friend of mine who leads up the MD MBA program in Johns Hopkins, I asked him how many actually do things with their program. They get the knowledge. Doctors, we love certifications.
Oh yeah.
We love
letters behind our names.
We love higher education. We love giving thousands of dollars to institutions there. Again, I'm not. If somebody's going through the MBA program right now or have done it, I'm not trying to dissuade it. But for me, I learned my business was through the business of hard knocks. Of having to pay employees every 2 weeks. You're going to learn business really, really quickly, or you're going to fall on your face. Right. But you already have the knowledge. You already work with folks, and at the end of the day, business is it's in the granular sense. It's just people working with people. Yeah. That's all it really is. It's not that you're building up the next, Walmart or anything like that. Maybe it leads to that, but at the end, it's just building a relationship with people. And if you have products or service that are of value that can help other people, I think you do yourself a disservice if you're not spreading the message of what you do. You are not taking advantage of the knowledge and talent that you have.
Yeah, I'm over here like, preach!
Preach!
Preach, brother!
Preach it. Testify!
Testify! I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
I know. Atlanta.
So one of the things I want to ask you before I want to jump to something else is have you experienced any failures as a business owner, and how do you approach that? Okay,
now that's a loaded question. I've failed thousands of times, many multiple times. That I've done. Oh man, now I'm gonna have to go back into therapy. Some of the things I've done. Just starting out, it was like I had a partner. It's always these people who bring up these opportunities. You
Right.
try to start up a med spa in an island in Belize. I bought this big hyperbaric chamber. It was going to be diving. Spent thousands of dollars. Later found out that the guys who ran the island, half of it wasn't even being developed there, so I lost money on that. Try to start up a hospital or a service for hotels, a doctor concierge hotel services in South Florida. That, then we had competition that came in. The old Thomas Edison story, when he was inventing the light bulb, basically, when they asked him, how you failed 99 times, it really wasn't a failure. It was just one step closer to success. They say what it takes to become a successful entrepreneur. I think the best definition I've had is not just perseverance, but being pig-headed perseverance.
Yes.
You have a goal that you want to make, and that's why I think doctors are a great example of becoming great entrepreneurs. Is we've had all these years of delayed gratification, right? While we're studying in the library late at night, our friends are partying and having a good time and dating, all that kind of stuff on there, because we knew at the end of that rainbow, there was eventually going to come a time where that'll all pay off. Now, some of you have now gone to that rainbow and find out maybe it wasn't that pot of gold that we thought, but you do have knowledge and education that if you are entrepreneurial minded, it could really take you someplace really beautiful.
Absolutely. And it really, takes that perseverance that you had and that commitment. Once again, comes to commitment, So, that just brings me to what's coming up. And I'm super excited for you to share about. You have a special bootcamp event coming up that I want you to share about. I'm excited because I get to be there.
Yeah, you do. You're one of the speakers. So we're in a great time, actually, in terms of physicians, at least at doing different things. And again, there's so many different opportunities with the internet coming about. It allows me to connect with great people like yourselves, other people, get them to know, but really to one of the kind of things that kind of took my business to the next level was to actually going and meeting and connecting with like-minded other doctors or business or wherever that you're in. You can only do so much, behind, the internet or behind a blog. And I'm sure you've experienced it the same way. I'm guessing that your business really helped yourself when you actually started going and networking and meeting other people face to face there. And there is not really a avenue for doctors to do this in terms of a business sense. Yeah. I went to conferences that were not this. I'm getting CME for conferences. When I wanted to go and create a better business, I went to business conferences. When I want to learn about, if you want to learn about real estate, you're going to go to a real estate conference. If you want to become a better surgeon, you're going to go to surgeon conferences. And I think it was Napoleon Hill says, we're the average of the 5 people that we kind of hang around with. And if you're in the same spot and you're dealing with the same grumpy doctors all day who got their own issues and dreams, well, guess what? That's where you're going to be, in the next year. Being able to, get yourself outside of the box, so to speak, and meeting other like-minded people, like Maiysha, for example, that can make a tremendous, impact into your business. And I've been busy working on my practice, and this is the first time that I'm doing an event like this in probably about 4 or 5 years, because I really felt that there was a need for more doctors, to connect. So if you won't mind, I'll tell you what the event is called. It's called Bootcamp MD. Yes. It's happening on January 26th and 27th in beautiful San Diego. So San Diego in January is always pretty nice place to be there. And we're going to have, speakers like yourself, very successful physician entrepreneurs, many of whom have got really big businesses. Most of them, don't work. They don't see many patients. I don't think you're seeing any patients at all. All the speakers that I know of pretty much only work about 10 to 12 hours, and the rest of it's filled with ventures and activities and businesses that kind of supplement their income, and really they're very passionate about. So if this is something that you're a doctor and you're looking for different avenues that you can go into, we're going to be sharing that at their business. For myself, I'm actually going to be talking about a little bit about more my story, but more of the the specifics of what I did to actually leave the bedside. We're going to talk about strategies that I learned, and I would say that I'm like super smart in business or super smart in that. I just kind of learned some things. I've had mentors. I invest in my own personal development, my own business. Last year or this year, I spent probably $40,000 to $50,000 because it was a commitment that I'm investing in myself and into my family.
Yes.
Now, the conference is not going to cost you $50,000. It's really, really inexpensive, to be honest. This is not a money-making activity for me. This is basically, I want to know what else is going on. I want to know, I want to meet people, like Maiysha and some of our other guests who've done some tremendous things in the physician entrepreneurial space. And I didn't see any avenue to do that. So I said, you know what, I'm going to throw my own event. Yes. And we're going to have an event, and let's see what happens with this. Because the worst thing that I think that physicians do is we tend to settle. Yes. We can complain, but at the end, nothing gets done. I see that, and you see it, of course, as a coach, and you get very discouraged. I know you don't get discouraged, but you have not moved them where they want to be. Right. If you're in a position right now where you don't want to be, you want to be in that same position next year.
Right.
If the only way that can happen is you're going to make a change. And if this is something that's of interest to you, I invite you to come to Bootcamp MD. Maiysha, I'm sure there'll be a link somewhere here that you can give them, so we know that you're coming through Maiysha link there. And I'm just excited to do this, and I hope people, from the attendees that we're happening right now, I know they're excited as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am super excited about this event because you're right. It is such a need. Like you said, there are all these various conferences, but there's not something that specifically empowers physicians as business people, as entrepreneurs, and that's done by physicians. That is a key. There may be other conferences that are done out there by not physicians, but this is for physicians, by physicians, and it's about physician entrepreneurship, about building business, about career transition. And so, yes, I will post a link for you all to register. And, this is the perfect time of year to do this, because here we are, new year, new beginnings. It's the perfect opportunity to make a commitment to yourself, to your family, to your career, about reclaiming your time, reclaiming your freedom, and creating that career by your design, and creating that life by your design and on your terms. That's what this is about. So I am super excited I want to thank you for inviting me to be one of the speakers. And because, like you, I feel like I can make 10 times, 100 times more impact empowering physicians than when I was seeing patients full time. And so I'm definitely looking forward to it. Again, it's January 26th and 27th in the beautiful San Diego. And I will be posting the link here. You can click on that link to get yourself registered. So Dr. Mike, is there anything that you want to leave us with? I so appreciate you taking your time away to do this interview with me. Is there anything you want to leave the doctors with as we sail off into our day?
Yeah, thanks again. And again, I'm so looking forward to this conference. And for those who are like, is this right for me? Really, it comes down to you. I wouldn't say this, but it'll literally cost you. You will actually leave thousands of dollars on the table if you don't go to an event. Maybe it's not an event, but an event like this. If you're someone who's an entrepreneur, or maybe you want to start your own business, but you don't know how, I want to meet you. I want to meet you. All of our speakers, I wanted to make sure that they are being interactive. It's not like Maiysha's going to come in, fly in and then fly out or go into her hotel room. You guys know, you guys follow her. She cares, right? She honestly cares about where you are and where you are in your business. And that's why I'm so privileged that she's coming at this event. I want to know what's going on in your business. What can I do? What can I do to help you? Maybe, take the next step. If I don't know the answer, I'm connected enough to know to find you someone who will know the answer for you. So I know that businesses are going to be built, businesses are going to be made. People can make a lot of money by going to this conference, and that's why I'm putting it on. Plus, it's going to be in San Diego, and we're going to have a really fun time.
We can have fun.
So, so if you want to level up, as Maiysha says,
that's right.
I think you owe it to yourself to be there. But great, thanks again, Maiysha. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I will be seeing you very soon at the conference in San Diego.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.